demonstration is on internal RMA Applet. So RMA means return merchandise authorization. So when we'll access to RMA Applet, you are able to see service note, customer RMA line items, supplier RTV, supplier RTV line, RMA request, and RMA report sidebar menus. So let me give you some summarization of this menu. So service note is something whenever you are having a new request of RMA, the service note need to be created. So all the item you are getting for service or any issue item you're getting for the customer, you need to track those information. You need to create the service note. Then next is the customer RMA. So whatever service note you created to group it by the customer, you can create the customer RMA. And then to see all the service note into one place, you can use the customer RMA line. The supplier RTV, whatever RMA you get from the customer, you might need to send to the supplier for repairing it or any kind of replacement. So to store that information or to group that information of service note, you can create the supplier RTV for a specific supplier. So the supplier RTV line is similar. Whatever service note you group into the supplier RTV, you can check everything in one place. Then the RMA request. So this RMA request is connecting with our e-commerce website. So if you are using our e-commerce website and then using the website, if customer requesting any RMA, it will appear here and it will allow you to approve or verify this RMA, then you can approve this RMA request. Then the RMA report is something, whatever you created for service note, and based on that, you can have a report for all kind of information. So let me go through in detail for all the menus. So first of all, the service note. So as I mentioned, for the service note, whenever you are having a new RMA request from the customer, you need to create a service note. So for creating the service note, you need to have the plus button, and then you need to select the branches from which branch you are getting the RMA request, and then you can have the service note number. For example, if the RMA request is coming from a customer and the product is from other supplier or other company, but you are only servicing it, so you can give this information to store their service note number. And then the RMA type, it can be internal or external. And you can have the information pickup type, the service note date will be automatically populate, and the request, customer request date, and service note close date. So that information you can fill based on your need. So then you have the account information. You can select the entity ID, and if you have the existing customer, you can create it. Or if you don't, if the customer is new, you can create from this menu, and after creating, you can select the customer. So next is the item details. So for this service note, what item the customer bring to you, you can select the item. You can select the item from the sales invoice or purchase invoice, or you can select the item previously serviced from you, or you can have a third-party item, which is something like you don't have any information of the item, but the customer bring the item to repair or replacement with cash. So that kind of item you can store, you can add by manually adding the item name, code, their model and serial number. And then next is the replaced service item, which is if the item is previously serviced and again the customer bring the item, so you can use this function replaced. So these are the other details. So you can have the reason, what is the problem. You can put the remarks, the reference, the purchase date. So other information you can have in your service note. So by giving all necessary information or the information you want for the service note, after filling up the service note, you can clicking the create button, you can create the service note. So after creating the service note will be appearing in the listing. So later on, you can edit the service note, the created service note. So after creating the service note, you are able to see the service note in the listing, and then you can edit the service note by clicking it. So for example, after creating the service note, you can set the workflow. So for example, the RMA, the workflow can be based on your need. For example, you receive the item, then you ship the item to the supplier. So this internal workflow is actually configurable. So later I will show how to configure that part. Then the remarks resolution, so the fixed button display repair. So whatever resolution you want to give for this service note can be added here, and then later you can review that first. So this is the workflow, and the remarks resolution part will be appear after creating the service note. So then the gen doc. So all the doc related to the service note will be appearing here. And then for the replacement, this is the replacement details, and this is the replacement tracking. For example, if whatever item requested for RMA, you want to replace the item with another item or any other product, you can just use this function, and the system will track that information for you. In the attachment, you can upload any file, video, or images related to the service note. And for the export is the printable. So whenever the customer is coming, you can provide a printable or receipt to them, for example. Yeah, so you export, this will be able to print it. And whatever is happening to the service node, the events will be storing in this mail. So that's all for the service node. And then the next is the customer RMA. For the customer RMA part, whenever you want to group your service node for a specific customer, you can create the customer RMA. So if the customer have multiple service node requests, by using this function is easy to manage, and also it's easier to do print for that specific customer. So here you need to select all the branches while you are creating the customer RMA listing, and you need to fill the information based on your necessity. Then you can select for which customer you are creating the customer RMA. So after selecting the customer, the information will be filled up, and then you need to select which address you want to use for this user and what are the address for the receiving branch. So that information will be added. So after creating the customer RMA, you can add all the service nodes related to that customer. So whenever you are coming to line, you are able to see all the available service node for this customer, or you can create a new one for this customer. So directly from this menu. And it's similar like the service node, you can add the attachment related to that customer and the RMA request for it. And then you can export the PDF. And events is similar like the service node, all the events related to the customer RMA will be appearing here. Like what is the changes you did, what is the fixes, so that those events will be appearing here. So customer RMA line is For the customer RMA line, all the RMA service note added to customer RMA will be appearing into the customer RMA line. So all the information of the service note, it's something just replicating from the service note to here. Only the exception is those service note is added to a customer specifically while creating the customer RMA. Supplier RTV is similar like the customer part, but only it's specifically for the supplier. So you can select the information and then the account part, and then you can select for which supplier is related. So after creating the supplier RTV, you can link the service note is related to that supplier. So what item you are sending to the supplier, you can track those information. And then the attachment is all the video or anything you want to attach. You also can use this menu, and export is similar to the printable, and the event is to track all the event for these service notes. And the supplier RTV line is all the supplier, all the service note which is linked with the supplier RTV will be appearing here. And then you can one shot and able to see everything in one place. And then the RMA request. So RMA request is something whenever you are having using our e-commerce website, using the website, if any user request for RMA, then the system will automatically show the RMA request into this applet. So to use this feature, you need to use our e-commerce module. Then the RMA report. The RMA report is for all the service not created. So that report is dynamic. So for example, you want to show a report based on the item name, you just need to drag the item name column and need to put it put into this place. So the system will automatically group the item name, group the service node based on the item names. Or for example, you want to know the action, like whatever needs to be replaced, what item need to be repaired. So based on the action, request action, you are going to group them. So all the column can be used grouped by. But you also can group by item name, then you can give the request action. So the system will do the group by like this. So it's something, a powerful function to analyze the report and can be narrowed down based on your need. And then you also can do the printable, or you can export the Excel. The next is the system configuration. So using the settings, the admin can do the system configuration. For example, the return reason and the request action, and this value can be added or can be modified based on your need. So you can add your request action whenever the RMA is coming, or the return reason whenever the customer is requesting for the RMA. What is the reason? Is there any display issue, or is the purchase missing, or anything? Based on your need, you can add those reason and the request action. And for the workflow settings, you also can add the workflow, what you need. After analyzing your company RMA workflow, you can add those workflow here. And whenever you are creating the service node, in the workflow settings, the workflow will be appearing. So that's how the RMA can help to track your return request from the customer, and can update the customer in which stage in which stage the product is currently on. So using the RMA Applet, you can improve your service for the customer. That's all for that. Thank you.